Hi everyone. I am going to discuss with you the differences between introverted and extroverted empaths. And I'm getting a lot of inquiries on this, mostly from extroverted empaths. And although I am not an extroverted empath, I'm an introverted empath. I'm going to try to provide some insight for everybody. I want to first just discuss the difference between introversion and extroversion. So, when we discuss introversion and extroversion, what we're talking about is how we maintain our inner balance, our inner energetic balance. So, an introvert maintains their inner energetic balance by removing themselves from social settings, and by being alone in the presence of just their self. An extrovert is somebody that maintains their inner energetic balance by being in social settings, socializing and engaging with other human beings. When we consider what an empath is, it really brings into play a completely different dynamic, and that's because an empath describes somebody that is energetically responsive and hypersensitive to external energies within their environment. So introversion and extroversion, defines how you maintain your inner energy, and being an empath really defines a human being that is hypersensitive to external energies. Most people think that an empath is an introvert, and it's not true. There are very many extroverted empaths, and I feel like honestly they struggle a little bit more with being an empath than an introverted empath does, because as an introvert I naturally thrive alone. I naturally thrive in an environment where I'm by myself, I'm in solitude. I know that I need that. I know that I want that. It's intuitive for me to seek solitude. It's intuitive for me to want to be by myself and focus on connecting with earth, and maintaining what I call this zero energy balance, this zero energy environment where I'm sort of in a meditative state. I'm in a state of mental stillness, and just quieting my external environment. An extroverted empath, their struggle is really that their own natural environment, their own natural preference to thrive in socialization can be rather debilitating for them. They when the opportunity to socialize comes up, they're extremely excited about it. That's where they want to be, and then they get out there, and they go and they step into this environment that there's a lot of energy emittance from the other people that they're around. There's a lot of energy emittance from maybe the electronics, or at a bar scene the TVs are playing, the glasses are clinking. There's people chatting everywhere, there's music blasting, and all of that, you know um, sensory overload becomes very overstimulating to an empath, and can shut them down rather quickly. So it's interesting because extroverted empaths can become very introverted as soon as they're out in social settings, if they don't understand what's happening. So um, this is cute here. Okay. So, if you're an extrovert, I think, and I don't want to say that you should sort of toss it aside that you're an extrovert, but I think that when you're an empath, regardless of whether or not you're an introvert or an extrovert, it's super important for you just to be finely in tuned to your environments, and which ones work for you, and which ones don't. And, to keep tabs of your preference for socialization, and your preference for alone time, and then also keep in mind your body's intuitive drive, and your rebalancing requirements. So what I mean by that is, again, as an introvert, It's very intuitive for me to want to withdraw from society. As an extrovert, that's not intuitive. Your intuitive nature says to go socialize. Um, but as an empath, when you walk out into a social setting and you're overwhelmed by your environment, it can be very interconflicting. And so your bodily requirements to rebalance might say, hey, you got to go and you got to be alone. You have to spend time reconnecting with earth. You need to seek solitude. And I think for an extrovert, it's so unnatural for them to want to be alone. It's so unnatural for them to um, want to quiet their mind and not overstimulate their senses, that it could sort of make them feel very offset by their self. And that's why I say, I feel like extroverted empaths have a little bit more of a struggle than introverted empaths, because again, my natural environment is the same for being an introvert as it is for being an empath. Let me see. I think that a lot of the feedback that I get from extroverts that are extroverted empaths is that they really just don't know how to find balance. And I think that um, it's going to be super super important for you guys, especially if you're an extroverted empath, to find a group or a social setting that will give you that socialization aspect, but will also allow you to maintain your balance. So what I mean by that is really limiting the amount of social environments that you put yourself into. So, maybe going to a health center that has, maybe monthly gatherings of like-minded individuals, maybe, going to yoga classes or group running, or they have these meeting of the minds or these higher consciousness um, gatherings, or limiting your socialization to maybe going out to dinner with, two or three people as opposed to, bar hopping. um, you're gonna really have to acknowledge what your balancing needs are as an empath, because being an empath, it's not going away, it's not going to change. So it does throw into the mix some other considerations, especially if you are an extrovert, because again, your intuitive drive to be with socialization is overridden a lot of times by your um, being overwhelmed in social settings because of all of the energies that are happening around you. So you might have to really, if you like going out to dinner, still do that, but just maybe pick some place that isn't as big. Maybe it's a smaller restaurant, or be really careful with who you choose to go out with. um and I think if you're doing research and you're just discovering yourself, it's going to be really important for you to sort of let go of this introverted extroverted thing. Not that I'm suggesting that you don't research what that means, or that you discredit that part, of your personality test if you're doing personality testing. But none of those outlets, none of that research takes into consideration whether or not you are an empath. So, you can be an extrovert or an introvert. Um, you know, you can be an extrovert, and if you're allergic to the sun, and you can't go outside, there's nothing you can do about that. You have to find other ways, other means to thrive as a human being. And that's kind of, I hate to use that as the example as an extroverted empath, but that's sort of really what you're going to be dealing with. You're going to be dealing with something where your intuitive nature is really overridden by your environment, because as an empath, you're just not going to be able to handle the amount of social interaction and the amount of energetic overstimulation that your inside needs when your body perceives all of this so much differently, and can create a lot of distress and a lot of anxiety. So again, if you are starting to research, there's not a lot of information out there, and that is because I think it's because a lot of extroverts that have come, to realize that they're empaths, they do tend to begin to just embrace themselves as an introvert rather than as an extrovert, which is, I think, how we came up with this ambivert, category, which is like an introvert that acts like an extrovert and an extrovert that acts like an introvert. I think a lot of these ambiverts are actually like extroverted empaths. But anyway, I am going to be writing an article about this. I haven't actually gotten all of the black and white aspects of it put together, but I just wanted to send this out for a couple people that have been asking me for it, to just understand that we have to let go a little bit of this introverted extroverted self-study when we're considering that we're an empath. We really need to just be focusing on like what it means to be an empath and how that affects us environmentally, as opposed to considering, well, I'm an introvert or I'm an extrovert, and that's how I need to self-study, in consideration of what my environmental energetic needs are. Okay, thanks. Bye.